Hey everybody, welcome back to Bleeding Cool's weekly recap review of Freeform Siren. My name is Ray Fluke, television beat writer, and we're going to be taking a look at the 5th episode of the first season, Curse of the Starving Class, which I'm already going to like right from the start because anytime you're referencing a Sam Shepard play, I'm really impressed. And for those of you who don't know, I'm not going to turn into a big literature lecture here, but the basis of it has to do with the idea of family intrigue and tragedy and the turmoils that exist within family, which we are absolutely seeing in this episode on a number of levels. I was a little concerned going into this episode because, for those of you who saw my review last time, I was pleasantly surprised with the way they had Ren and Donna reunited. I just wasn't expecting that. I thought that might be something that was going to get stretched out a little closer to the end of the season. So at that point, I was curious, okay, you've played your card. I'm really curious to see where you go from this point forward. And actually, again, it's building on some of the mysteries that weren't solved and also starting to move things in a more, I think, concrete way from the mythology standpoint of where at least I think the show is going. And we definitely got a confirmation of one revelation that I know I am very proud of having gotten right, and I know a number of you guys got right too, seeing some of your comments that were posted out there too. So let's take a look. I'm going to let you know what I think about it as we roll along. But the episode starts 1 month later because that's just what we love to do in television. Now we do the whole jump aheads. And again, for where the series went, it makes perfect sense. We see Chris is at Dutch Harbor at a bar, and he runs into Decker, and Decker starts asking him about that dangerous woman that he escaped the facility from. So obviously, Chris is starting to realize that things are okay, are kind of out there and known. So guess where Chris is going to go? Chris is going to start hightailing it to more friendly pastures. And those friendly pastures are going to lead him back to Bristol Cove. But from there, we get to see Ben and Maddie. And now that, again, Ben and Maddie having a little concern about their relationship because of all of their work and everything that's been going on with Ren and everything else, they feel like they haven't really had a chance to kind of connect with one another and kind of build up where their relationship is going. What I also find kind of interesting is that we definitely see that there's a connection that Rin has with both of them, and both of them are feeling with her. Very interested to see where they go with this. If this is from a familial type bonding, if there's something of a more sensual, animalistic nature. Very curious to see where they go with this. I know there's the intimate scene between Maddie and Rin, which again can be played out on a number of levels, and I think we have one of the pictures posted here. You'll see can play out on a number of levels. Where again, I'm really curious to see where they go with the overarching mythology, especially with the mermaids. But I digress. In the process of also discovering their relationship, Ben realizes that there's something going on because there's a lot of deep sea fish that are starting to get caught up in the fishing boats that are out there, and that obviously means that there is something going on, that whatever is causing deep sea fish to have to try to make it closer to the surface, clearly there is a fish food environmental thing coming into play. So we're already starting to get that now kind of established, and considering what we know Ben's family is involved with, we can see where this connection's going. And did I mention Ben's family? Because I don't think I'm the only one who will say this, but Elaine, Ben's mom. Not sure I completely trust her, or she has the most motherly thing in mind in regards to her son. There's a conversation she has with Dr. Abbott where she starts to think that maybe Ben is messing around with Maddie on the side. So she comes up with the idea of having lunch with Maddie to kind of address the concerns and see where things are at. I don't know about you, but I don't see that going good in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, we'll see later on why I have these bigger issues with Elaine. So I just want to kind of build upon that. Again, talking about family and the overarching theme, we also see Ben with his father Ted. And this idea of, while Ben is the marine biologist and Ted is, the industry guy, the fishing guy, Ben sees that he has a role that he can play in the father's company. This idea of, better way to fish is the concept that he uses, and this idea that we don't necessarily have to just strip mine the oceans and kill the life out there to be able to maintain and sustain a very healthy way of life with regards to Bristol Cove and the fishing industry. So you start to see the possibility of them working together. You also see the possibility of how this could be a big problem, because I think the closer son gets to dad's business, the closer son's going to get to really know dad's business, as we'll see in a few minutes. But along with that, guess what we have? No shock, no surprise. Ren and Donna are returning. The radars go off from Maddie and Ben's standpoint. You have to assume, of course, that the radars are going to go off from the government's standpoint too, especially, again, when you look at the whole, once they come on to land, the whole mermaid tail thing, ashing, falling apart, and everything, that's great. But again, you leave a trail. It's like essentially an ashy mermaid tail form of like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. So we know this is going to be a matter that's going to come into play. We see a great interaction between Ren and Donna, and it's a tale of two sisters and a tale of two sisterly experiences, because Ren is trying to tell Donna, like, look, humans aren't all the same way. There are good humans, there are humans that are here to help us. Donna, on the other hand, considering what her experiences have been up to this point, you could understand why she's finding it a little hard to kind of take her sister's, I guess advice is probably the best way to put it. So we see there's a little building conflict there. When they go to end up meeting with Ben and with Maddie and with Helen, it doesn't exactly help the situation. And again, I'm just going by my cheat sheets because I want to make sure that I get this correct. They go to meet with them, and the issues come up regarding the food issue. This idea that the deep sea fish are being caught up in the nets, and that's when Ren's like, look, it's hurting out there. That area in and around Bristol Cove, we're hurting, we're starving. It's starting to drive mermaids more and more further onto land into further areas to get food and to hunt. So clearly it's becoming an issue. Now, is this just a matter of strictly just industry, or are there other things in play? I think you can pretty much know where that's going, but just keep that in mind. While all this is going on, Donna's just kind of hanging out there, and Donna kind of sees that fish that they have that Ben and Maddie are taking a look at, and she's thinking, well, wait a minute, you're the ones who are kind of holding the food from us. So there is a big fight that pits sister on sister fight, and then Donna goes away, and we end up seeing where Donna ends up going. She basically goes to Ben's dad's plant, and just, I think probably the best way to put it, she causes some serious damage. And this is before Ben's even going to have his first day at work, so you can imagine what he's going to end up being walking into. Meanwhile, I mentioned about Chris. Chris has now made his way back to Bristol Cove. Chris is now meeting up with Xander and with Calvin, who I always want to call Curtis for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a Cowboy Curtis thing from Pee-wee's Playhouse. I'm not quite sure. But they end up meeting up because, again, comfort with friends. Not completely sure still what might be going on with Chris, but hey, I guess the feeling is comfort in numbers. We then cut to Elaine and Maddie and that uncomfortable lunch. And this is not a matter of a woman, I got a sense, who's more concerned about helping a relationship or helping a situation or matter, more as controlling a situation or matter. Because in one fell swoop, she basically threw her own son under the bus by talking about his past issues and kind of looking at Maddie and referring to her as just some kind of rescue mission, rescue case, temporary thing. So again, yeah, I'm not a big Ben's mom fan at this point. Not a big fan of his entire family, but I think maybe the dad, there could be potentially some redeeming issues. But yeah, mom, I'm kind of not, I'm not kind of sold on that. Again, since we're on the lines of family issues, Ben ends up finding out that his father's plant has been getting essentially all of their stuff just bought up in large bulk by something called Coastal Mills. And Coastal Mills, essentially, we find out, has a contract with the government to force the mermaids to the surface. The idea is we're going to basically gut the entire ocean area around Bristol Cove. We're going to force the mermaids to come to the surface. We're going to scoop them up, and we're going to take them into facilities. And then we see that they've got set up areas already to go in with holding tanks, containers, and everything else. So it's this big, grand cover conspiracy that now we'll find out to what extent Ben's dad may or may not know the direct involvement, but we see now that it's the fishing company to this conglomerate tied directly into the government, which means it's tied into Harrison and Decker. And yes, Decker is still showing the concern about what he's been doing. But still, we have a big major issue that's obviously going to come to a head, because mermaids are going to start coming to the surface, and they're going to start coming to the surface in a manner that I don't think the government's going to be able to handle, and the people of Bristol Cove are going to end up getting caught up in the middle. Now, if that wasn't enough, we have our dun-dun-dun moment, which came at the end, which again is a dun-dun-dun moment I think most of us have been talking about or anything like that, but again, just that confirmation where we see Helen and Donna, and Helen basically emphasizes to Donna that we're all essentially after the same thing. which I think is just a fantastic idea, because we've seen the scars, we've heard the conversations about Helen's past health issues, but now we're seeing this confirmation that Helen is either a mermaid or somehow tied in directly. I'm still going with my theory that possibly she could be of a generation of a mermaid human offspring. I think that's a possibility. I'm still going to go with that one. But that was just a very, very cool ending moment. It was just like, okay, we brought you back. We give you 1 month later, but if you think the action's going to stop, it's not. So again, I just thought it was an excellent episode. Again, just continuing a track record. 5. I'm writing it now, 6 episodes in. I haven't even seen the 6th one yet, but I'm just really sticking with the series because I like where they're going with it.